Welcome back to another episode of How to Be Happy, the podcast where we explore happiness. Happiness is a science, happiness is a skill set, happiness as a practice, and happiness is something that makes all of our lives just a little bit better. Now, on this episode, I am remarkably honored, proud, excited, grateful, a whole range of happiness emotions to be joined by Osher Günsberg. Osher and I first connected in 2025 at an event that we spoke at together and continued to have conversations that I found remarkably insightful, profound, validating, challenging in some ways that were really healthy for me about Osher's experience of happiness and mental health and identity and living a good life and my experience of much the same. And that conversation has continued in the episode that you're about to listen to. We covered so much ground. I feel like we covered things on impermanence and letting things pass, on taking ownership and responsibility, on surrendering control where things are not ours to control, on the interconnectedness of happiness and how our happiness impacts those around us, including our children. Osher also spoke a lot about changing his relationship with himself and happiness over the years, of building out a toolkit to support his happiness that he needs to continue practicing on and on and on, as we all do. As we had this conversation, I just sat there going, wow, this is so confirming that I'm on the right path, and that's where we landed. Not to give away the ending, I know I shouldn't be doing this, spoiling the episode, but in the end we ended up kind of landing on this idea that there are some core philosophies about happiness and well-being and living a good, fulfilling life that have withstood the test of time. They've been around for thousands of years. We see them in all cultures, and they just keep showing up, and it's our responsibility and our opportunity to listen to those philosophies, to learn them and to practice them and to implement them throughout our life so that we get to play our part in spreading a ripple effect to happiness. So I won't give away specifically what those philosophies were, but suffice to say, we discussed quite a few of them in this episode. I cannot wait for you to listen. I'm going to stop right now. No more delay. What's saying? Without further ado, we're going to dive straight on into this insightful conversation with Osher Günsberg. Well, mate, first and foremost, thank you for being here. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you for asking me to do it. We were just discussing off air how frustrating it is sometimes to be doing handy-manny kind of things around the house if you're not a handy kind of man. And you know, I'm okay, but I'm not. Like, me and YouTube do a lot of work together. And I've been trying to put up a shelf, and it's been very frustrating, and so much frustration. And to be given a time to speak with somebody, to be of service to you, to be able to spend an hour not cursing the people who built my home many decades ago is a lovely and welcome respite. So I'm grateful.
Oh,
I'm here.
I'm glad that we can give you a little space to transition from frustration and expectations into maybe something a little bit more wholesome for our Monday. I was thinking in the lead up to this, I had a little chuckle to myself because I thought I couldn't really think of a more appropriate person to have a conversation with about happiness, the relationship with happiness, mental health, well-being, the journey around all that, than yourself, because your name Osher literally means happiness in Hebrew.
Yeah.
This is kind of on the nose. This is almost offensively on the nose that you're someone to talk to about happiness. But growing up, I didn't know you as Osher.
No.
Talk to me about that transition.
Me neither. Look, I'm an immigrant to Australia, but I'm white, so people don't have marches about me. Both my parents, like many immigrants, both my parents changed their names when they came to Anglo countries. My mum was Lithuanian, my dad's Czech. And, you know, if you've ever, there was a guy who was here a little while ago doing some rendering on our home, and he introduced himself as Jackie. His name is not Jackie. It's just the name that I can pronounce without having my tongue, fall over. So people change their names all the time. And I'd never been known by my own name, really. I had nicknames the whole time, my whole career, whether it be in radio or before that when I was a roadie. And then, nicknames can stick like shit to a blanket. And I've been known by my own name on telly for a small amount of time. But an opportunity came along. I met a bloke. Now I'm a skeptical kind of guy sometimes. But this bloke was telling me a lot about, hey, if you do this and do that, if you put another name in here, the energy around your life will change. I'm like, well, it's not. can't help. It doesn't hurt. No one has to really know. And so privately, I started, I added a name in about 2009, I think. And after I got sober, I was looking for a way to kind of a signpost the life before and life after, because a part of getting sober is there's a number of steps one may take to get sober, and part of those steps is having a really solid look at the kind of things you might have been doing and thinking and going about the world. And it was a really helpful thing for me. But the other thing is, I'm not the only person that changed my name. Like we're recording this on the day that school went back, and I remember a day when I was in primary school. I came back, I think, for grade 2, and Miss Cuthbert was now Mrs. Smith. Miss Cuthbert was the same lady. She had different hair, wore kind of different clothes. Now she's married. I don't know. Same lady, but she changed the name, and it changed the way that people related to her. If you're a parent, I'm a parent. I'm a step parent. There's a name that only one person in the world calls me, and it changes who I am. Wolfgang calls me Dad, and anyone who gets called Dad or Mum, that changes who you are. And so how you refer to it is, the guy that originally told me stuff, I'm like, you know what? I think you're just taking nominative determinism and putting a bit of a spin on it. It's like Reiki healing is, really, you're not touching me, but because I believe something's going to feel better, that's the placebo effect. Yeah, I'll tap my card there. There you go. And I'm paid for it. So I think it's more that. And all I know is it worked. And anyone can do it whenever they want. I mean, just ask Calvin Broadhouse how it worked out for him. He will say, my name's not Calvin, nephew. It's SNOOPDOGZ. Yeah, changing your name changes the way you relate to the world and the way that other people relate to you. And yeah, I recommend it.
It sounds like at the same time.
If the people of the country have grown up knowing your name and then you change it completely without having any idea about SEO or search optimization or fucking anything, like, it's a terrible move for my career.
I mean, it sounds like not only you said, change the way that other people relate to you and essentially you related with the world. It does sound like there was a bit of change happening at the same time about how you related with yourself. And you mentioned being sober around the same sort of time. Talk to me about how your approach to happiness and well-being and mental health was shifting at the time and has evolved ever since.
I, like most people, I think, because it feels right. It makes sense that you feel it's the right thing to do. Like when a kid's being a little shit, when I was young, if a kid was being a little shit, a parent or a teacher or a stranger would just go, fuck, fuck. And that was that, because it felt right. We now know it's not, but it felt right. So it felt right that if I wasn't happy, it was someone else's fault. I'm not happy because this happened. I'm not happy because that person got the job over me. I'm not happy because that person cut me off. No. It's all you, not me. And that made sense. Well, our egos are trying to protect ourselves. And that was certainly, I mean, it's not just, alcoholism, but other things can happen. But alcoholism definitely is a disease that involves the ego, and it's a very selfish disease. And I, just didn't want to think about anybody else, never considered anybody else. And so things were happening to me. And when things are happening to you, I came to learn that when things are happening to me, I am powerless. Things are going to happen no matter what. How we relate to those things is how we then get to experience the world. And once I started to get, being able to really put that into practice, I mean, it's hard at first because you don't want, it's like, no, but I don't want to recognize my part in the fact that I chose to drive on this freeway today. And that is my part in this. And this person's cutting me off, but I have a role here as well. I chose to be in this lane. I chose to do this today. This is a part of being on a freeway. I want to make everything everybody else's fault. I'm now powerless and the person in the other car has the power over me. But if I'm like, well, I did choose this and it's fine. So things started to change around about then. Like it had been a while. I'd done some CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, when I was about 26. I was going through some stuff and that kind of really helped. It was the first time I'd really considered, I can change the way I think about things. Things are just things, and I can change the way I think about it. I wrote about this in my, I wrote another book. Sorry to be the podcast guy who goes, oh, funnily enough, I mentioned that in my new book, Declan.
No need to apologize at all. I'm glad you did it because it saved me from bringing it up. Being like, oh, tell me about the new book. So while we're here, tell us about the book.
So there's the line. There's a line in the new book. The book's called "So What Now What," which is, basically it's almost it's inspired by a conversation I had with the man who helped me stay sober and helps me stay sober. And there's a page in the book that talks about how we as humans, we just make stuff mean stuff. That's what we do. Nothing means anything in the world until we make it mean something. It's in the same way that I can look up at a cloud and go, oh, that's a turtle. No, it's it's tons and tons of water vapor. And from the angle that I'm looking at it and the way the sun's coming the other way, my brain goes, turtle. All right. In the same way, we don't realize it's happening though. We can then go, oh, that person cut me off in the traffic. They're either being an asshole or maybe they're really good at this is what I started to say was like, you know what? I bet that person's really good at baking muffins. Like real good. All right. Real good. Driving might not be the thing. Muffins, however, he is on point. And people don't think about it, right? With the neck tats and everything, they think, no way, could he do muffins? Griffo, because it's written on his number plate. You can tell I've been driving in Queensland recently. Griffo, fucking mate, his muffins, tip top. Like, that's a bread joke, but real good. So there's a line in the book about when you're looking up at the Southern Cross, which is a constellation in the Southern Hemisphere where we live in Australia, you can see it mostly during the winter months, but it's there now if you stay up late enough. The bottom left, the one on the left, it's called mimosa. I like the drink. The photon that hits your eyeball is over 300 years old. It's traveled through time and space for 300 years. That photon, that particle has left that light, left that star, and that particle has hit your retina 300 years later across countless quadrillions of kilometers. And we go, oh, that'll make a cool tattoo. Because we decided what it is. The photon doesn't know what we call it. It doesn't know we call it a star. It's just been speeding at the speed of light for 300 years. And then it hits our eye and we go, oh, that's a rad tattoo. I'm going to put it right here on my heart, like Shannon Noll. Once you realize, I think that's the greatest thing I think I've come to learn, Declan, and it's hard sometimes still. I'm nearly 52 and I still have to remind myself, things don't happen for a reason. Things just happen. I'm the one that gives them the reasons. Okay. I might not like that fact, but it ultimately puts me in a lot more power over what's happening than anything else. And that is hard to do, but it's worth it because now I have agency and the locus of control is within me. A locus of control is you're either a passenger in the car or you're driving. And I spent a lot of my time as a passenger and maybe no one was even at the wheel. And I was just scared. But that's what you're trying to get, that internal locus of control and understand that you make stuff mean stuff. And that's, if you never go to therapy and somehow you just found this video somewhere, you're welcome. That'll change your life.
I will say I've heard of, the practice of assuming positive intent in people. I don't think I've heard it with as much of an absurdist spin as you've put on it. The idea of positive intent with Griffo being, an assumed positive intent would be like, okay, he's trying to get something really important, but I do like the angle of absurdism. For all I know, he's really good at making muffins. Like, it brings this humor and playfulness to it. I think sometimes mental health, we take ourselves almost too seriously.
And you've got to put a gag in there because the joke circumvents a lot of our biases, and that's humor works because it's a surprise. And if you put the surprise in there, a new neural pathway gets formed, and it goes around that thing that you might have about guys who drive white utes with P plates, and you get to go, oh man, I could have sworn that guy showed up on time with cash to a Facebook Marketplace deal and didn't even try to haggle me on the day. It was just boom, boom, in and out. Amazing. Brilliant. Good for him.
And I'll say, I don't know, I've found for myself, it sounds similar to you here, that if I reach a place where I can laugh at my thoughts and feelings rather than take them just as pure fact and have so much weight behind them, it does create a little bit of spaciousness, a little bit of room to then start doing these other perspectives that you're talking about, where we can start going, what's the meaning here? What am I applying to it? It gives us a bit more breathing room rather than being like latched onto our face.
You've got to laugh. You've got to laugh at even the worst stuff. Worst stuff. Jokes about dead kids are not funny. jokes about dead kids are funny because dead kids are not funny. All right.
Mm.
And if you are in the grisly grimness of it and you can make a joke with someone who knows how grisly it is and they know you know how grisly it is, and you can say something like, at least, we don't have any more hand-me-downs, which is going to be good. Is terrible, but it breaks the moment. I learned this from my parents. They were both doctors, and the only way a doctor or a paramedic or a fire or any first responder, they see some horrible stuff, okay? The only way they get through the end of their shift is by making jokes. It's not at the expense of the people they're helping. It's for the people, for the next people they're helping. And it allows them to go and laugh a bit to get out of their initial response. I spoke to a brilliant author, Sally Gould. She's a intensive care paramedic, and they're like the elite ambulance people. If one's coming for you, you're in a lot of trouble. Do you know what they call intensive care paramedics in Australia?
I don't.
They call them frogs. And they call them this because everything they touch croaks. This is how they refer to themselves. We're going to send the frogs out. Because if the intensive care paramedic's on the way to you, it means there's not enough time to get you to the hospital. And you're simply not going to make the ride home. So these people are like lights and sirens flying towards you with this idea that, they're very professional. They take their jobs very seriously. And yet they know that afterwards they will be able to debrief in a way. They've got each other's back. They understand that neither of them is trying to take the piss out of the person they're just trying to help and the family they're trying to help. But it is a vital part. When I was really, really ill, I went through a period of very, terrible mental health, and my brain was doing all kinds of things to try to help me, but it was actually almost trying to kill me, to be honest. It was only through laughing at those thoughts that really helped me. And I made them into preposterous cartoon characters and gave them silly voices, silly names. And the claims that my brain was coming up with of, I don't know, say, for example, my thing was about climate anxiety and energy policy. Scott Morrison's, in Parliament holding coal. And I would draw it like it was like the final frame of a Gary Larson comic, the Far Side comic. I'd make it preposterous with, really exaggerated, like a cartoonist might do at a birthday party. And that's how I would see it rather than the picture. And making jokes out of it, giving it silly voices, silly names, just takes the sting out of it, takes the power out of it, and allows you to assess it, in a better way that goes around those automatic thoughts that can pile so much doom on you.
Can you expand for me on? I love exploring the paradox and the tension points that exist within ourselves. The paradox and tension point there between my brain was simultaneously trying to protect me and kill me.
So, you and I and everybody listening or watching, we are only alive because we have what is known as a negativity bias. Okay. Our ancestors, our greatest of ancestors, the ones that heard a rustle in the bushes, not like coit or crow, but a rustle in the bushes, and went, I wonder if that's a giant animal here to eat me. Oh, could be fascinating. Or maybe it's my friend John. Let me see. The ones that did that, maybe it was their friend John. Maybe it wasn't. Those ones didn't survive to lunch. The ones that heard a rustle in the bushes and got the fuck out of there, they survived. The jumpiest, most frightened of our ancestors are the ones that survived and lived. And we have inherited this. It's really good for, running reactionary news outlets and things like that. But it also, it gives us this bias towards imagining that things are going to turn out the worst possible way they possibly could. Now, this is useful when it comes to keeping ourselves safe, and largely the world is a lot safer in every single possible way than it ever was. But our brains and body, our physiology has not changed since that time. We have not evolved that fast. It's maybe a couple of 100,000 years, but evolution takes a long time. So it's important to get on top of that, because these things can set off floods in you that you are unable to control, no matter who you are. We're recording this the day after the Australian Open final of 2026, when Alcaraz, is that his name? I keep on.
Yep, spot on.
When Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest players to ever live, all right? Even Novak Djokovic, with all the sports psychologists and all the like mental training and all the I've won a bajillion Grand Slams in my brain, when he made a mistake, he folded in half like a croissant. Then he breathed in and he stood up straight again. Even he cannot circumvent those instant rushes that come across us. All right. He recovers very quickly and he's back. He's focused again, like 6 seconds later. But you watch it, he can't stop it. So it doesn't matter who you are, it's going to happen. It's just getting on top of those feelings, because that is what our brain's trying to do. Our brain's trying to protect us from that fear. And what happened to me was, oh, people are frightening. I know, don't leave the house. We're not leaving the house. Okay, don't talk to anybody. Don't answer the phone. That'll keep us even safer. And so all the things that were trying to keep me safe actually were putting me in far more danger, because I wasn't speaking to people. I wasn't going out of the house. The things I was avoiding got bigger and scarier. And the thoughts were just getting bigger and scarier, to the point where the thoughts were starting to get so overwhelming and big and scary, I couldn't escape them because they're in my own body. And then my brain started to come up with ideas of like, hey, I know a really good way to make all these thoughts stop. Okay, here we go. And that was really bad. That was really scary. That's the most general answer to your question I can.
How do you go from there to then making change in that space? You've alluded a couple of times to, working with great people and getting great tools and support. I imagine there needs to be a leap of some description of almost going, I can't just try to take on this on my own because I'm fighting myself here. Like I'm wrestling my own mind and emotions. I'm not going to win that fight.
Oh man, look, I am someone who, again, I was raised by 2 doctors. So I know that other people are going to have better ideas sometimes. And I learned that from getting sober, that just because I think it was actually more that. It was just because I think it doesn't mean it's a great idea. In fact, one of the most important things I learned was trying to think about things with a brain that's in trouble. Trying to think your way out of trouble with a brain that's in trouble is impossible. You can't. It's like trying to ask a fish what water is. It doesn't know how to do it. You can't use a sick brain to think your way out of having a sick brain and all the problems that it causes. You're going to need someone else's brain. So I knew enough to trust other people who had my best interests at heart. The bloke I mentioned before who helps keep me sober, and also great doctors who really, really helped me. And I was in so much strife. I, just like a pair of pliers that you might have, left around, it doesn't open and close properly. Got to get some of that Lanox on there to get them opening up again, a bit of lubricant to get that thing working. I needed to take some meds for a while to loosen my brain up and loosen up those immediate thoughts that were just punishing me, like the things that were hitting Novak Djokovic and folding him in half. They would not stop. They would go and go and go every 6, 10, 20 seconds. And they were inescapable. It was like a storm of hornets that I couldn't get away from. So I had some meds on board that helped slow all that stuff down and allow me just a little bit more time to go, hang on, is that really true? Maybe I can make a phone call and say, hey, I'm having these. Is this happening? Or like, did that happen when I went to that party the other night and I said that thing and that person, I didn't make that face at all. No, don't worry about it. Okay, thank you. And just trusting that person. And wonderfully, brains are amazing things. They grow, they change, they move, they rewire. And it is having the patience and the willingness to be with the discomfort of those thoughts and go, relaxing. Okay, just because that really feels really true right now, let me just check. Let me just quickly check, either by writing it down and checking myself, or, in extreme cases, somebody else I was with, or calling a doctor. And I did that for a while. It took a while, but it works. I had to take, but I got to a point, Declan, where I just refused a life that was going to be this every day. If this was going to be my life for the next 30, 40 years of my life, I didn't want that. And I knew that I deserved to be happier than the way I was feeling. And I was relentless about it. I was using, I have a brain that, some may call diverse. And there's elements of my brain that have given me the career that I have. And sometimes they serve me, sometimes they don't. But I can use those ones, particularly the obsessional ones, those parts of my brain that want to never let go of something. So go, okay, well, if you're not going to let go of something, let's not let go of getting better. That is what we're going to do here. We're just going to fucking focus on this and relentlessly go at it because that obsession thing would relentlessly go at doom and horror and this person doesn't like me or the world's going to end. And it was very difficult to interrupt. But I'm like, okay, I can do that if I want. So let's go on getting better. Let's use this relentless, stay on target, like refusing to release from that as a goal. And I just let the rest of my brain do its work. Because once it was like, oh, no, we're not there yet. We're just going to keep going. We're going to be with this discomfort because that's where we're going. We're going to do this. And, you never really get there. Don't want to blow anyone's bubble in the fact that you're not going to listen to this podcast and go, and now I'm happy. Yeah, done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I fixed everything. Yeah, pretty good, right? Yeah, I'm stoked. No, it's a day-to-day thing because your life changes, you move on, you get older, your shoulder starts to hurt more than it did, you have kids, your job changes, things show up, and the tools you have might not be enough to get you through the next bit. And that's okay. You can go and find some more tools.
And I think we know that to some degree in other areas of life. Like it would be wild for someone to say, hey, my teeth are feeling pretty clean at the moment, so I never have to brush them again. Or I'm feeling pretty fit and healthy at the moment, so goodbye to exercise forever. But when it comes to looking after our emotional well-being, our mental health, our happiness, yeah, I'm a big believer in the saying we try to marinate in the good times and navigate effectively through the tough times. Because they're both going to keep coming. We're going to have good times continue to come. We're going to have tough times continue to come. To your point about the negative cognitive bias, our brain likes to do the opposite. It likes to marinate and stew in the shitty times and go really, really, really fast through the good times. Let's not pay them any attention. Let's just skip ahead to the next challenge. But you're right. These are always going to keep coming. We're going to keep facing good times, bad times. Someone asked me last year, which kind of floored me. He goes, how do you feel about the notion of living an incomplete life? And immediately my go-to was like, well, that sounds fucking terrible. I don't want to do that at all. He goes, well, to be honest, I'm yet to meet someone who perfectly timed their death to go, I've ticked everything I wanted to achieve. There's nothing more I want to do. I don't want to spend any more time with loved ones or see anything else. This is it. This is good. For most of us, that's not going to happen. We're going to wrestle with this idea of doing the best we can with the time we have, whilst knowing that it's going to come to an end, probably not at an ideal time.
And you got to be cool with that.
Mm.
You're gonna have to be cool with that. I think for me, talking and thinking about your own death is also really important. That's a big part of me feeling better. Hang on a second, I'm just going to get him. He sits up here. I call him Darren because I stole it from when I worked on The Masked Singer. Darren Hayes, who used to sing in Savage Garden, he had a set piece. It was a big throne and it had these skulls all over it. And as they were moving, they get used once. And as they were moving it off the stage, one of these things fell off. I just picked it up and I said to one of the art guys, can I keep this? And they're like, yeah, man, we're just going to throw it away. I was like, well, okay. So now Darren lives on my desk. And it's important because Darren reminds me every single day, you're going to die. And it's really important. It's really important to remember that. And we may want to not think about it, but it's vital. It's vital that we think about the day we're going to die. And it could be today. It could be. I'm going to ride my bicycle up to physio later on. Who knows what's going to happen? Today could be the day. And when you start thinking that this could be the day or tomorrow or we don't know when, you start to think about everything starts to smell a bit better. Things taste sweeter. The interactions you have with other people feel more there. And at first it was very difficult. I didn't want to think about my own death. And that's understandable. But it's so liberating and so powerful. And if you want to really go, you may not be ready for this, and that's fine. You don't even have to spend long. But if you can start once a week, spend 30 seconds, just 30 seconds, thinking about one of your kids dying. And then spend the next 30 minutes, just looking at photos of how awesome they are and I can't wait to see them when they come home from school or, how great they are and get yourself back. But build that up a little bit. And because I do think about it, and it's hard. But what happens is that the next time you see them, oh my God, you're telling your brain, this isn't forever. All right. And in many ways, embracing that they're not forever can really help. At the same time, today, Wolfie went to school for the first day 2026, and he's standing there in his uniform and his hems have gone up that much since he finished 8 weeks ago. It's like, Jiminy Crickets, where's the kid from 8 weeks ago? He's never coming back. And I mean, our other one, she's nearly 22 now, but the kid she was 4 weeks ago doesn't exist anymore. She's a different person. And it kind of helps you be with that. It kind of helps you, Nobody is sure, not even sure. Nobody can turn back time. We just got to be okay with that part. And that acceptance, the acceptance of death, the acceptance of impermanence, that acceptance is in a large part probably the most powerful thing that I discovered when it comes to happiness. Because not only am I accepting the impermanence of happiness, because it's not a destination, it's just a fleeting thing that comes like the oncoming of a sneeze. Oh, there it is. And then it's gone. It helps deal with when you get cut off in traffic or when, things aren't going your way. And then this is no fun. I'm not going to like it. It's okay. I don't have to like it. But I also know it won't last. It won't last forever. And even if the situation, maybe you're out of work or, you're getting a breakup or you're getting divorced, even though the situation might be unchanging and that you no longer work at that place or you no longer live with that person or go with that person, who you are will change. And so a day later, it'll be different. And a week later, it'll be different. And a month and a year and 10 years and 20 years later will be different. And being with the impermanence of the discomfort is the thing I believe that really helped me the most. It's something that I really discovered. I went through a period of terrible chronic and persistent pain, which was hard. I wouldn't wish on anyone. It was awful, about 18 months. And one of the things I worked with my pain psychologist, brilliant lady, one of the things she and I worked on was the impermanence of the sensation. Because if you've ever been in chronic and persistent pain, you start to really limit your movement. It's an analog for everything else we've been talking about. My arm hurts. It was my arm. But my arm hurts when I do this, so I just won't do this. I know my arm hurts when I do this, so I just won't do this. I know my arm, I can't move my arm. And then, because you're unwilling to be with the discomfort. But what she would do is she'd relax me down and go, okay, now let's go and find where that pain is. Let's go look for it. And at first I didn't want to go near it. But after a while, I was able to pinpoint the exact spot where the pain was coming from. And after a couple of breaths, it moved. And it wasn't in the same place for more than 10 seconds sometimes. And she was able to say to me, it's like, well, notice that this sensation, even this sensation is impermanent. And so it might feel horrible right now, but know that it'll be different in 10 seconds. It might be bad in 10 seconds, but it'll be different. And understanding that the entire universe, entropy is involved. We can't escape thermodynamics, man. Entropy comes for all of us. Understanding that change is the way of the universe will help you talk to your brain and go, oh, sorry, brain, I know that you're trying to make this a permanent thing because that's what kept us safe in the past, but it actually isn't. It might feel that way, but it's going to be different. Either I'll change or it'll change or both. So take a breath and go and do something else for now. And so, yeah, I would say that is a really, really, really important thing that helped me find a way through today, I guess. That and
it's funny that coffee's one of the, I always jokingly throw it in as part of our toolkit for happiness. I'll tell you what, man, I have probably not had a coffee for many, many years now. It's just an immediate anxiety inducer.
How are you? Thanks for chatting to me. I'm going. Goodbye.
It is a terror. Well, this is to the point. I know we say it tongue in cheek, but everyone's allowed, and will have their own happiness toolkits. And that toolkit's going to change as well. We're talking about how change is inevitable. The tools that we use for our happiness at one point in our life may end up being different tools for a different challenge we need to face in life. The tools that we use in our 20s will be different in our 40s because we're facing different challenges. The tools that, I think this is the challenge here, is so often I see people, particularly in this day and age, seeking their answers for a perfectly happy life or perfect happiness toolkit from others. And I'm aware sometimes people listen to this show for that reason. I'm like, hey, I'm not an expert on you in your life. I've not lived your life. I'm going to share what works for me. I'm going to get people on to share what works for them. Take what you like, ditch what bloody doesn't work for you. And that's okay, right? Rather than going, oh, so such influencer online said they get up, they do their 4 a.m. run, then they have their ice bath and they do their journaling and gratitude meditation. They walk outside, sing like a Disney princess, and all the birds come and flock to them. And then go, I tried it, it didn't work. Maybe that means there's something wrong with me. You've spoken a bit how over your journey you've been working with great professionals, great people. I know you've run your podcast for over a decade now, asking people about what's worked in their life and sharing their stories, all with this obsessive pursuit of how do we become a bit better than yesterday. It's the name of the podcast. Have you come across tools or techniques that you've tried or ideas or things that you're like, I'll give that a crack, and then gone, actually, you know what? That's not for me, and that's okay. I'm just going to ditch it. Or is everything kind of been a little taste test first?
I found things that are okay, but I find them a bit less effective for me.
Okay. Yeah.
No. So I found, there are some secular practices which emulate some certain spiritual or religious practices, which are just basically a coding of the things that make our brain change, whether it be dancing in unison or singing in unison. Prayer is just it's literally meditation, but because it's codified in the scope of a religion or a cultural practice, it can have a bit of a bad rap. And so, but there are secular ways to approach those things. Look, I know someone who found enormous pleasure humming and spinning, which you might have seen. There's people that very some certain cultural dance practices which involve spinning in a circle and humming. And this person absolutely loved it, and it brought them enormous relief. I gave it a shot. I'm like, okay, not for me. Not for me. That's fine. I can dance a little bit, and that is useful when I need it, but it's not something I do all the time. Though it is really powerful. It's shown to be very, very, very powerful. Is really useful. I don't do it as much as I should. But yeah, some things like that. Yeah, anything that gets a bit esoteric or on the edge of that. But there's ways into it. I can think about the global expanding consciousness and go, I don't know, man. This sounds like I'm going to a seminar and being asked to, meet someone at the signing table out the front.
Wear exclusively white on the way there.
Yeah. I don't own a linen shirt. Like, I don't know about that. Yet, I can access that in the same way if I think about how far away the nearest star is that isn't the sun. If I think about, I like to think about stars, and I like to think about, if I think about that, there's more space between the protons and neutrons in every atom in your body and my body, then there's more distance relatively. I believe it's something like this. There's more distance between the protons and the neutrons than there is from the Earth to the sun. And so most of everything in the world is actually nothing. Oh, I can access that feeling, right? If I just sit there, I remember doing it when I was younger than Wolf. I was about 5, I think, when I found this out. Just thinking about that we don't know where the universe ends, that will put you in a state of, oh, I'm not in control of any of this. And just humility before something that is more massive than you. That's how I try to find my way to those things. When it comes to getting sober, I'm in a fellowship of men and women who count days and take steps. And one of those things is a belief in a higher power. Now, I was raised in religious schools, and it's definitely not for me. I figured out about 11 years old. No, this doesn't feel right. And so I wasn't mad on it. And then someone just said to me, look, it's just good. Just pick something bigger than you. You got to be humble before something. Pick something bigger than you. And for me, it was the universe. Yeah, I could be humble before that, because I cannot escape the laws of physics that have shaped the entire world around me. The same way that you see the similar patterns and tessellations in sand at low tide and the clouds above you, the way that particles move in our universe is inescapable. We cannot escape that. I cannot influence it, and I have to be humble before it. And once you find something you can be humble before, then you just have to be with this. The rest of this is out of my control. Whoever's going to cut me off is going to cut me off. What I do about it is how I change my day. As long as me and my family are safe, I'm cool. But yeah, I find ways. I try to find the things that they're searching for. Look, I get it, man. I'm in my 20s. There was, things smell a lot more like patchouli, and there may have been some linen. So I understand that that's a way in for a lot of people. But at the core of all those things is either a modality or a set of practice or something that will cause our brain to do a thing which will change the way we either relate to something or the way our body feels. And I guess that's the thing I search for.
It seems to be, and I've found over my time, just the more I study and learn about happiness and look at it from different angles, different practices, different modalities, different cultures, there does seem to be this collection of philosophies that pop up across time, across culture, across backgrounds. Some of the ones that we've spoken about today, like surrender, trust, acceptance, personal responsibility and ownership, impermanence, right? Like all these things that we've been mentioning seem to pop up over thousands of years of humanity. They pop up in different cultures and they come in again. They're just dressed in different ways. The way we tap into them, the way we access them just has a different label, a different name, a different practice, based on what's popular at the time. But those core philosophies do seem to be, hey, there's something here that when we understand it and when we practice it and when we sit in the discomfort of a lot of them, because they're not easy, we tend to feel a bit better.
Yeah, we are able to, I don't want to use the word transcend. We are able to separate ourselves from some of our more instinctual responses to things which feel right, which I understand. Like I said before about disciplining a kid or, blame others when things don't go our way. They feel right, all right, because they're defense mechanisms and that feels right. But if we're willing, we can look. I mean, we're not smart people. We're just, I'm not, you are a smart person. I'm not a smart person. But as you mentioned, like people figured this out thousands of years ago because they didn't want to forget it. They put them into cultural practices so they don't forget. We can't forget to dance. We can't forget to hum together. We can't forget to share stories. We can't forget to make sure that we look after each other because when we look after each other, we survive. Here's a story about a scary, angry sky dad who's going to be upset with you if you don't do these things. But doing these things helps us be better all together. And it's important to recognize that we're just, we're just finding it. Like my wife, she's an amazing gardener, okay? And we have an eggplant plant. We have an eggplant plant in front of our house, and like one of the branches is like this, but it hasn't got any flowers on it. But this one's got lots of flowers on it. The flowers become the fruit, and so she just goes twink, and she pulls that branch off to then push all the energy up through this one to make the eggplants bigger. All the plant is doing is it's programmed to take the energy from the sun and the carbon from the air and create fruit. We're the same. We can do the same. And we're not doing anything except helping our body do things that it otherwise wouldn't do by just taking these particular steps. And they're like Easter eggs in a video game. You may not have ever been told that, but now you're doing it like, oh my God, there you are. That worked. Yeah, it does. And there's hundreds of these things. And they're always fun to discover. And you just find one that works for you.
I never thought I'd do our conversations today because I started gardening last year. We've set up some veggie gardens here. And immediately I was like, that's why my tomatoes aren't getting bigger. Oh, yeah, she was sharing. I was like, straight after this, I'm going to go out there and adjust the tomato plant. But it's to what you were saying before about thankfully our brain can change, right? Through neuroplasticity. Maybe the aim for all of us is, trim off the parts that aren't working well and aren't delivering fruit or benefit and try to cultivate and nurture the parts that are.
That's it. Yeah, the analogies keep getting greener.
Mate, look at us go. Look at us go. I'm curious, before we wrap up, as you've had an extensive history exploring this for yourself, practicing and experimenting. You've also had something that I've started really appreciating for myself in the last couple of years is the ability to tap into other people's perspective and experience. Running a podcast, yes, for the purpose of sharing insights and experiences with others, but from a more personal and selfish perspective, I just love learning from other people as well. And the insights I've gained from others have been really beautiful. And what I've started to notice just in doing this for a year and a half, 2 years, is there starts to be little common themes and threads popping up. Like what we spoke about with culture, with society, with humanity. I see the same things in a much smaller time frame. You've been running a show for over a decade now. If you were to say like 3 things that are pretty damn common that come up in those conversations, and I'm putting you on the spot with this one.
In relation to what?
Anything that you talk about there.
Okay.
So life as a whole.
Okay.
Top 3 common threads that come up when we're talking about the idea of being better than yesterday.
Hey, well, Declan, you've caught me on a rather special night because I'm currently writing my 3rd book, which is based on the podcast.
Get out.
And I couldn't find a tool to do this. So I paid a bloke to try to build one, and then I paid another bloke to try to build one. And then the 3rd bloke's actually built one, a database of every conversation I've ever had. It's nearly 7 million words. And it's agents upon agents upon agents, but I'm able to go, what does the database say about parenting, particularly discipline? And it will find those conversations because the same thing comes out again and again. Or there's one version of it. It's RAG, in case you're wondering. It's something, I don't know what it is. It's a way of searching nerdy stuff. But there's ways like, what are the repeating lessons? Because I felt this as well. I was like, this same story, different words, but it's the same beats every single time. So what I would say, and this is all going into the new book, it's kind of the lessons that I've learned during the thing. I'll give you three real simple ones that can be summed up by, a real easy quote that I can remember. The one would be that, as we mentioned before, the pathway out of anxiety is action. That's it. Okay. Or the antidote to panic is a plan. That's all I'd say is, if that's what you're feeling, get into action. Take a step towards something that you value, whether it be your family or your friends or your health. The smallest step that you can take. Make it so easy you can't not do it. Make it so easy you can't not do it. If you wanted to say, like, I need to really get in shape, and you haven't done a push-up since PE in 1998, that's fine. Stand next to a wall, put your arms on it, bend your elbows 20 degrees and back again. Great, you've done 1 rep, see you tomorrow. That's it. Make it so easy you can't not do it. And then just increase that a little bit every single day. And that's all it is being willing to be with the discomfort of that increased load of whatever it is, work, your mental health, dealing with uncomfortable feelings, thinking about dying. Just a little bit more every day. If you're willing to be with that discomfort, just a tinsy bit, you will regularly, every day, you will explode. Things will be incredible for you. The second one I would say is a quote from, he's unfortunately passed away now. He was my manager when I lived in Los Angeles, an incredible industry guy called John Ferreter, amazing guy. And he said to me, only you know how hard you've worked to make your dreams come true. You can say to everybody else, oh, Declan, I didn't get the job. I sat in the thing, I gave them the pitch, and they went on with the other guy, and they go, you go, no worries, Osher, that's fine, no problem. Yeah. But I'll go home and I'll lie in bed tonight and go, I kind of phoned it in, I was scrolling on my phone in the car before the meeting, and I didn't really. I'm the one that has to live with my, my lack of effort. So only you know how hard you work to make your dreams come true. So you're going to be the one that's alone with your thoughts. Make sure that you don't have any questions there. And I said that to, G when she was going through EHSC, and I tell anybody, those two things are really, really important. And the third one I would say is about parenting, is that your kids will never do what you tell them, but they will do everything you show them.
Mm.
And that is one of the hardest things and most amazing things about being a parent. Probably the hardest thing about being a parent. It's got nothing to do with the sleep or, when they start being teenagers, going out on parties and things like that. It is, oh my gosh, that thing that you're doing right now that annoys me to pieces, word for word, I have said that to my own parents at some point, and the only reason you know it is because you've copied me. And then you get an opportunity to go, well, now I get to do something different. And that gives us all, as parents, step parents, or, you can do it with your cat or your dog, whatever. We all have this choice every day, but there's a lot of, inspiration and, incentive when it's your own kids. You have, like, does that serve me? What else could I model here? How can I be a better person? How can I help this young person make a better choice? Because all they're doing is copying me in those choices. They look for me, everything they've learned, they've watched from me and, the other people in my family. So what else can I do here? And that's everything from down regulation to effort to being kind to people, being kind to animals, sharing, everything, dealing with, overwhelm. That's the choice. That's the choice we get to have as parents every day, is to go, okay, I'm not just doing this I'm doing this for them, but I'm going to get a benefit. If I, when I get cut off in traffic, and, my son's in the back, I'm not going to scream, are you fucking what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, Wolf, he really cut us off there, but I bet he's real good at making muffins. What flavor do you think that'd be? Strawberry muffins. Oh, Griffo with the strawberry muffins. There he goes. And in that moment, I'm helping him learn how to deal with that kind of stuff. I'm also helping us both. He's seeing me deal with frustration, and because that's not what I heard when I was in the car as a kid. I guarantee you that. That's the opportunity we have every single day. So that's just 3.
And that is such a perfect example in my mind, or such a human example, I'll say, of the ripple effect of happiness, the ripple effect of doing this work. It's bigger than us. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. I look forward to, if you ever decide to release the unabridged version of all 7 million words that you've had
Oh,
over the years conversation. We'll get a second bookshelf for it. We'll get everything set up. But in the meantime, I look forward to your books as a summarized version of it.
it's a lot. But the stuff that I'm speaking to you today is like, there's already a version of this. Is the book that came out in 2025. It's called So What Now What. And a lot of the stuff that is in that book has been stuff that I kind of tested out doing keynote speeches and stuff that really connected with crowds. And, then I ran it past psychologists and things like this, and, stuff that maybe originated from the podcast as well. So it's a lot of the synthesis of those ideas that has been, battle tested up against some very important academics. And it'll take you 40 minutes to read, but it's the kind of book you want to give to someone who's having a hard time. And it's real good.
I'll make sure to include it in the show notes then. And I recommend that people also go listen to the podcast and hear more from you directly too. And as a starting point, if you haven't got enough of listening to my voice by listening to this show, we've obviously got an episode together on your episode. Start there and you can work your way back.
Amazing.
Well, mate, thank you once again for being here. I really appreciate you.
See you later, man.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Every single time someone listens to these episodes and then chooses to do something with it, we are making the world just a little bit happier. One bit at a time. There's a great philosophy I believe in, that one drop raises the ocean. And today, I hope you've had the opportunity to be that drop, to learn a little bit about happiness, to question things, to sit with things, and to go, you know what, maybe I'm going to go practice that. Be it impermanence, be it sitting with the discomfort of reflecting on our own mortality and our loved ones' mortality, be it trusting the process, be it taking micro actions, be it some of the suggestions Osher made at the end there, or be it taking better care of your garden, which is going to be the first step that I go do after this episode. Whatever stood out to you, please do something with it. Because just listening to an episode, just learning passively about happiness doesn't inherently make us happier. We must put it into action. And by the way, I'd love to hear what did resonate with you. If you listen through Spotify, pop it in the comments box. You can leave comments on shows. Or if you're not listening through Spotify, if you're listening through everywhere else, please just send us a message. You can find us on Instagram at BU Happiness College or How to Be Happy Pod. You can find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, all the different social platforms. You know where to get us these days. Let us know what you're loving about the show. Let us know what stood out to you. And please do share it with other people in your life. That is the most direct way to spread the ripple effect of happiness. I do believe the more people who listen to these conversations, who learn these philosophies and practice these tools, the better the world becomes. I cannot change the world on my own. I cannot make the world happier on my own, but I can play my part in it. And I hope you play your part too by sharing this with other people around you. And of course, pressing subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed to the show, make sure you do that. We pay to protect 1 square meter of rainforest for every new subscriber. It's our little way of paying it forward and making a difference in the world. I'm grateful to say that we're growing really well, which means we're also expanding the amount of rainforest that we're protecting. So please do press subscribe, share it with others. And of course, check out more of Osher's work. We're going to have links in the show notes. Go check out his podcast, Better Than Yesterday. Check out his books. We're going to have all that there for you. He really is such a joy to talk to and learn from and be around. I'm remarkably grateful that our paths crossed, and I'm remarkably grateful that our paths crossed, yours and mine. I'm grateful that whatever it is that brought you here, whether you know me personally, you follow our work, a friend recommended to you, I'm glad you're here. Thank you once again for taking some time out of your day to listen to this conversation, to learn more about happiness. Please do go play your part in making the world a little bit happier.